The first place was in this basement apartment in what was then the Van Zarberden house, and I think it's still owned by Kenneth McQueen. I'm not sure. But it's on South Avenue on the, well, up the hill from the station.
It was the first house on that side.
It was the first house there, but there's one down below
now
it
the
now.
swimming pool was turned into a house, and I
Yeah,
think another
that's right.
house was built.
Laurel was born there, and Dewey was born there. And then we had to move out because Mrs. Van would not let us have 4 people in that little apartment. It was just not right, so we had to find another place to live. But I will tell you about Dewey being born because it was such fun. I was on the bed, as mother's world was supposed to be in those days, and the doctor was there, and
Dr.
the nurse was
Deering.
there, and you were there, and both of our mothers and Mrs. Van were on the porch that was right almost above our room. It was right outside of the room above us. And they were all sitting up there waiting to hear news about the baby.
Boy or girl? No
You know.
ultrasound then.
Right.
And so Dewey came, and on his way out, he said, "Mama!" And we all started laughing so hard that the people on the porch upstairs thought, oh, it must have been a false alarm. Nothing. So then people used to joke about Dewey because he was born talking but then stopped. He didn't really stop. He learned to talk quite normally, and he just doesn't talk very much. So then we moved out of that, and we moved into one of the Rose apartments.
Across
Down
from
on
where
Alton
Matthew
Road.
now lives.
Oh.
Yeah.
Across the street. The one farther back.
Aunt Sonia had lived there too. She was born there, I think, in that apartment, that second one. Then we lived there for a couple more years. John was born, and Roy was born on John. And then we were once again getting crowded. Even though there were 2 bedrooms there instead of just one. But we started, after John was born, we started looking for a house. No, before he was born, we were looking for a house.
Yeah.
We were. And that's when we had that car accident. And our car was totaled. And I was carted off to the hospital. I was fine. But
Because she
I
was
was
pregnant,
8 months
they wanted
pregnant,
to
so
check her out.
they wanted to check me out. And besides, I must have looked terrible because I had cracked the windshield and I had blood streaming all down my front from the shattered glass. And so we didn't have a car then, so we couldn't look at houses. So we spent another year there and managed to find another house before Jeffrey was born. And then from there we moved to Huntington Valley, right near the traffic light that you come to as you go down the hill where the stores are. We moved into that house, and had lots of room.
It was a
And-
double house.
Yeah, but we weren't.
2618
We
to
weren't
26
living in
No,
the other side
no.
at that point.
But I thought it would be good
Yeah.
information to give them. 2618 and 2620 Huntington Pike.
Well, what were you working on at that time?
The eraser,
Okay.
the blackboard eraser was invented while we were doing that. I had the basement. I chose the basement as my laboratory.
Well, not the whole basement because
No.
the washing machine was down there too.
So was the furnace. Yeah.
and I
and
was
it was a
washing
coal
diapers
furnace.
almost every day.
Oh yeah.
So,
The garage.
The
but
garage was part of it, yes,
Mhm.
but there was another room under the house proper, and above the garage there was a porch, closed-in porch that I occupied too.
well, you occupied part of it, but it was also a playroom for the
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
until you needed to make that hole.
I had to dig a hole in the floor about a foot square, a little bit bigger than that, for my um,
Richard Rowe.
rigid rope to go up. I had a chain that pulled up the rigid rope. I won't get into the design of it, but anyhow, that
Okay, so we moved in there, and just in time because 2 weeks later came Jeffrey, and then there were more diapers. And we lived there for 7 years. That was our house. We bought that, and but then when I don't know what came to an end, but we came to a place where Oliver needed a job again, and the job that he found was down in Wilmington. So that's when we moved to West Grove.
and that was quite
And I don't know
a
if that
house.
means anything to you. West Grove is in southern Chester County, almost at the Maryland and Delaware border corner where those three states come together.
And that house was a big stone house that had quartz stones in it.
Beautiful
Beautiful
stone.
house. Set on a little knoll that the road came around. You could see up to that beautiful house. Nice lawn, 5 acres of land.
3,
About-
I think.
3, okay, and an acre and a half or so of lawn, and it started out as a carriage house back in the
1775. It was
1775. That was back in colonial days. Very historic. One of the things that I discovered was I took the floorboards out of the section that was the carriage house. The rest of the house had gone and was rebuilt or something, but that was a carriage house. And under the floor there were things that may have been belongings to the underground railroad. Little glasses, little square glasses, and pointed shoes, and things like that. And I discovered it not very long before we had to move. So they're still there as far as I know. But it was quite exciting to have a house So beautiful. When my boss came to, when we were sick, came to give us with a dinner casserole. When he came to the back door, he said, "I've looked around this house. My goodness, I should have this house. You should have mine." Because it looked like it looked like we were wealthy.
Right, right.
But we got it for we stole it almost. It was such a bargain.
We had determined how much we could afford with Oliver's new salary, which was a step up from what he'd had before. And we weren't going to pay more than that for our house. So we looked at this house and we really liked it, but it was more than it was. They were asking considerably more than what we had decided we could afford. So we said, "Oh no, we can't go that high." He said, "Well, could you go up a couple of thousand more? I think they might accept that." And I don't know whether Oliver
No.
would have said yes, but I said no. We
Right.
just can't do it. He says, "Well, I don't know. These people have been trying to sell this, and they're pretty anxious to get rid of it. I could call him and see." The couple who owned it had been divorced,
No,
and
what
she'd
happened?
gone to Florida, and he was rattled. He didn't want to live there by himself, and so
No, what happened? I don't remember if you're going to say this, but the real estate agent that was offering this finally said, "Well, just write us a check for what you can, and we'll see what happens." Because we said, "No, this house is too expensive. We just can't do it. This is all we didn't have the money.
Right.
We couldn't do it. We didn't have the credit or anything." So.
well, we had
Well, they took it. So we stole it from them.
Great.
yeah. I remember feeling sort of guilty at
Yeah.
the settlement because I saw on the settlement papers that his mortgage had been more than we were paying him. So he was definitely selling it at a loss.
But they were in a hurry.
Yep.
So that was their.
We were in that one for 7 years also.
Okay.
And then another job change.
So we went.
And
Got a job. Got a job with a big company. But instead of being a quote engineer unquote, which a big company wouldn't agree to because I didn't have a degree. They hired me as a technician for about, twice what I had been getting? I mean, a lot more
it was more, but
than what I had been getting. So it was a definite improvement, even though I lost
the title.
the title, yeah. So I worked as a technician there for 10 years, I guess.
I don't remember what year you got
Anyhow,
finally
Yeah.
promoted to engineer, but it
It was quite a while.
was quite a while.
So where were you living at that point?
In Limerick.
Well, then
Limerick
that's where
Township.
you probably remember that place.
Is that the one with the factory?
No, it's
No.
the one with a barn. We had a horse.
Oh, where we had the
That-
horse?
Where we had the horse. Do you remember that?
No, maybe
First
not.
one I remember
No,
is
wait a minute.
the one with the factory.
Okay. Well, this was
Okay, that's right, because John got married in 1980, and we moved out of that place in 82 to 3. So we were there 13 years at
Good.
the Limerick house.
this house
And-
had been. Let me tell a little about
Sure.
the house. It had been a house belonging to a potter. He was a farmer, as well. I mean, sort of, but he was a potter. He had a little kiln on in the back, and he made pottery. He was famous for his handmade pottery in the area. Our medical doctor, which was a family doctor, had a collection of his pottery and put a show on at one point to show all of these items that he had been collecting.
He even asked us if we'd mind if he came and looked around to see.
We showed him the ruins of the kiln. But there had been an accident, and he had died from the kiln when he was making some pots, and that was before the people that owned it that we bought it from. So he had been passed on from that accident some time before, but he died from catching fire from his kiln. So some of his machinery was there in the woods, rusting and stuff like that. So it was, but we had 7 acres, most of it woods, with a stream running through, and the barn was in fairly good shape, and somebody gave us a horse that was retired, very highly prized horse, but too old to show or anything, and the owner wanted to have the horse retire to a family that would take care of it instead of turning it in a meet or something, or putting it out in the field where it would be abandoned, you know. But somebody who would love it, and we did. You know, he was a very gentle horse until my cousin was showing the kids how to really manage a horse. He jumped up on it, and he was on there for half a minute before he was thrown. That's the only time that horse got.
It's the only time he ever dumped someone.
Yeah.
Horse. Although Matthew got dumped off, but
Well,
once.
yeah,
but that was something.
That's because Matthew was galloping toward the pond. There was a pond there too, and he was galloping toward the pond real fast, and the horse had to stop to not go into the pond. And Matthew went over the front of him, landed on the ground. The horse couldn't stop fast enough, but his hoof went between Matthew's legs, and that horse knew what was happening and knew where to put his feet, and at least I'm presuming, I can't, like I say, I can't introspect beasts, but I think that that horse was being such a prized horse. I think that he knew what he was doing and how to handle this emergency situation. But Matthew could have been squashed pretty badly from that.